Well, welcome to Christ in Culture. My name is Pastor Jeff Short. Today, as you can see from our selection here, we are dealing with the Halloween holiday. Rolls around once every year, around October 31st. And as you can see, there are two harmless pumpkins sitting atop of the porch railing of a home. And that's what you used to see about 30, 40, 50 years ago. Just some harmless pumpkins sitting on top of the porch railing, and you would never know anything other than that. Well, today we run into a lot different scene. And I went out recently on a little stroll through my neighborhood here, and this is the first house I encountered. Yes, things have turned a little bit different today than they were 30, 40 years ago when I was out trick-or-treating in the neighborhood. Today it gets a lot more gruesome, it gets a lot more scary, and it gets a lot more sinister and actually evil. And that's what I want to talk about today. I went on a walk through the neighborhood a couple days before Halloween, and I just wanted to give you a little summary of what I've found out in the neighborhood. And here is the first home I happened to encounter, where you have this scary creature and you have the others. It's not just the one, but this home actually puts up someone, scary skeleton that's actually hanging there as if someone is hanging him. And then you have someone putting up some kind of a evil witch in the front door entrance area. And then you have this happy couple of skeletons. And this is all the way people celebrate this Halloween holiday today. It's not at all like it used to be, just where you would see a pumpkin, you might see a number of different other things, but today people go full out. And here's our friend again up close. Now this is a scary sight, and if you were a little kid, you would be scared out of your wits with this guy. So my question to parents is, why do you want to take your kids to get them scared? Why do you want to put this sinister, evil-looking creature into their mind? Why do you want to expose them to this kind of terror? This is death. This is a symbol of death, and parents are routinely exposing their kids to this every Halloween. Every year at Halloween, kids are exposed to very disturbing images of death and occult. We haven't gotten to that yet, but we're going to get into this. We have the witches, and again, this is a very disturbing scene. You have the typical black cat, fairly harmless. You have a jack-o'-lantern that looks like death warmed over. I think that's a spider in a spider web. And then you have this witch, and this is a very sinister looking witch. This is the kind of face that would haunt a little kid in their sleep and produce nightmares. And I know when I was a kid, my parents used to worry about that. They'd say, well, we don't want to put into his visual field anything that would disturb him, cause him to have nightmares. But that's a typical thing today that parents expose their kids. Look at these dismemberment. These are dead bodies, and it's not just a dead body, but it's a dismembered dead body. So you have a lot more things than before. It's gone to a next level. Here's a pumpkin creature. Again, you have to think in terms of children and their imaginations. And if you were a child and you happen to turn the corner and all of a sudden this pumpkin creature was facing you, that is the kind of material that they would have nightmares over. And I'm sorry to say, parents don't even worry about that anymore. They don't even take that into consideration. Here's another home where you have all kinds of death symbols, Manny bones. You have It looks like the Death, the Grim Reaper, and you have something in the back there that says Pearl E. Gates, a reference to death. You have some corpse coming out of the ground, trick or treat, again, the theme of death. Here you have the typical black cat that just happened to be out a few days before Halloween. So that's something you would have seen before, because cats are out and about walking around, and that's nothing strange. That is what you would see 30, 40, 50 years ago. But today, you're going to see a lot more. Again, the one home, you've got different holiday. Now, this looks like a fairly typical scene. You would say, well, boy, you know, they've got their pumpkins, jack-o'-lanterns, whatnot. But wait a minute, what is this? What is this? It looks like some ghoul or ogre actually strung up. And this is another very disturbing image. I don't know why parents would ever put up with this. I don't know why they would put this near their home. This is someone's home. They have different signs up. They have Halloween holiday things, but then they have that guy, and it's very disturbing images. That's what's bothering me and bothering a lot of Christians these days. There's all kinds of disturbing images, visual images. Here's a Grim Reaper in the window of a home, and he is looking out of the window at kids. Now, if you're a kid, you come up and you see this Grim Reaper grinning at you. Again, this is going to be disturbing, and I don't understand why parents would put up with it. Now, this is what you would typically get in a typical porch Halloween. You would typically get this kind of decoration. And now this kid obviously put his initials in his jack-o'-lantern, which is not all that common, I have to say. But it does happen, and the kids sometimes do that, and that's fine. That's cool. That's harmless. It doesn't produce any material for nightmares, doesn't disturb the kids. It's just something fun. And when I was a kid, we used to carve our pumpkins up, and I think we did it even at school, which was nice that you had an activity. And here's again the picture I started with, a couple harmless jack-o'-lanterns up on the. This is the way it used to be, and kids would go trick-or-treating, and there weren't all these disturbing messages. But now we get more into the modern era, and we have some other images that are shown here. Now, little ghosts, not so bad. That's kind of harmless, like Casper the Friendly Ghost. But then you have some more disturbing ones, like this guy. It looks like he's being hung, and it's the skeleton. And you have a vampire down here. Not a real scary display, but then you walk. Okay, then you have some more harmless displays. You have Casper the Friendly Ghost, and you have some tombstones, and you have your pumpkin up there. It looks like somebody's already gotten ahead of themselves and started smashing pumpkins even before Halloween, which usually it was the case that after Halloween you would smash the pumpkins. But be that as it may, then you get some skulls. You might see that around Halloween. A lot of clutter. A lot of one of the things that is really shocking is that how people are going into Halloween so big these days. It used to be just a little thing, but now it's gotten, I think it's the second most celebrated Halloween, and it really shouldn't be celebrated at all as a Christian. There's nothing really that we would want to celebrate in Halloween. It's just mostly. Now, this is getting to the disturbing level, because look at this. If you're a kid and you walk around the corner and you see these two skulls up in the tree, very much the symbol of death, and you would have to probably steer your child away from this. I wouldn't want a small child to be exposed to a lot of this scary death symbols. Now look at again what you have here on the ground. You have, it's a dismemberment exhibit here. You have hands and arms and legs, and you have blood here. You have skulls, and you have a tombstone, and then you have this gruesome big tombstone. And you know, all of these images, very disturbing images. They're not things that kids should really be exposed to. And I hope parents will wake up to the fact that you don't want your child to see these things. You don't want to see a body dismembered in the front lawn of someone's home. It's not appropriate for small children. It's not appropriate for really anyone. I mean, think about it. Even an adult. What kind of an adult would put body dismemberment in your front lawn as some kind of a celebration of what? Death? I think you're getting some really bad images here, and I think you're really going to disturb the psyche of a lot of kids. It's just bad. It's bad taste, inappropriate, and I think parents need to wise up. Now here's some more harmless fun. See, this is the way it is when you walk down the street and you see people putting up decorations. You're going to see homes that are harmless. You've got a little mummy here, a jack-o'-lantern, a little skeleton, very trick-or-treat banner there, sign. You got very harmless on there, and that's the way it should be. Again, some more harmless symbols. You've got some pumpkins, some ghosts. Okay, that's fine. Casper the Friendly Ghost kind of style. And again, that's appropriate. Here you get a little bit stranger. What is this? It's like a Fu Manchu Asian corpse, old wizard. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't really look very good. And this little guy, probably for kids, but this would be frightening for a lot of kids. And then of course you have the Great Pumpkin is coming, and you see this once in a while. And when I was a kid, the Charlie Brown cartoons came out, and I never really understood what was the purpose of the Great Pumpkin story. You know, Charlie Brown's out in the pumpkin's patch waiting for the Great Pumpkin to return. And as I got older and as I matured in Christianity, I began to say, you know, isn't that really a take on the second coming of Christ? Is this kind of, I don't know, is it making fun of the second coming of Christ? This is what Christians say, is that Jesus Christ is coming. Christ is returning soon. Watch for the second coming of Christ. And now you have this cartoon character, and his theme is the Great Pumpkin is coming. I kind of think that is, I don't know, is it a play off the second coming of Christ or something or another? I think, again, you have a lot of, I don't know, messed up, confused, twisted, sort of inverted symbols around Halloween. And that would make sense because this is sort of a, I don't know, anti-Christian, anti-God. It's sort of a anti-Christianity, anti-wholesome, anti-good, anti-life holiday. It's dwells on death and confusion and disturbing symbols. For example, what is this? It's a straw man, scarecrow, some kind of a thing. And, you know, this is what you get around holidays. Now, again, you get very disturbing images. And if you're a little kid, you watch all these things and you say, wow, you know, that's scary. One of the things that I think that feeds into all of this Halloween celebration is the horror genre in movies. I never could understand why people want to be scared out of their gourd. Why do they want to be scared? Why would you pay money to be terrorized? Isn't life giving you enough scares, or isn't there enough terror and horror in the world that you wouldn't have to just go out and get this? And why would you want to get this? Now, here's an example. You have a home that looks like it's doing more of the traditional Halloween. You've got your jack-o'-lanterns, pumpkins, you've got your flowers harvest theme, and then all of a sudden you get this couple here, and they are more of the dark death theme. And you have this strange looking couple that is inviting you into their home, only they're dead and they're corpses. Again, this weird kind of theme where you have more of the traditional, the wholesome, the good, like that, and then you have the death corpse theme, and they're right next to each other. Now, here's another example. You have these the Grim Reaper here. You have these skulls, and you have bones and rest in pieces, it's called here. You have this strange, odd-looking skull, and then you have on this side, again, more skulls. These are very disturbing images, and again, you have to question the sanity of parents who would actually let their kids enjoy this kind of stuff, or teach them to enjoy it. Why would you want to teach your kid to enjoy this kind of imagery? This is not healthy imagery. You know, the Bible talks about whatsoever things are good, wholesome, pure, true. Think on these things. So I think when you go out and decorate your home like this, you are doing the very opposite of what the Bible is talking about. You're doing the very opposite. You're going in the other direction. Whatsoever things are gruesome, horror-filled, terrorizing, frightening, disturbing, gross. Think about those things. You're inverting the verse. Now, here is something that a lot of churches have gotten into lately because of the dangers of going home to home trick-or-treating. There were scares back in the 70s and 80s about really twisted people putting poison in candies and razor blades in candy bars and pins in apples and all kinds of ugly, really sinister, evil things, because of course you have a population of people and there are always going to be some pretty evil, sinful people in the population, because that's just the way the fallen humanity works. Most people are not that way, but there are some people like that. And so parents began to say, hey, we're not going to take our kids trick-or-treating. We can't trust the citizenship of this area. We don't want to risk our kid eating some candy laced with poison, or some pins or needles or razor blades stuffed in their candy bars. So we're going to take them to alternative celebrations. And one of the ways that churches do this is that they have what is called a trunk or treat. And I hate to tell the kids, but you're really not getting much with a trunk or treat celebration. I know that the mothers say, hey, it's a lot safer, but what happens is you have a parking lot and you have cars with the back of the cars facing toward the center of the parking lot, and the kids go from car to car, and there's candy in the trunk of the car. It's called trunk or treat. Here's an invitation for this church. Join us in our parking lot for trunk or treat. And it was this United Methodist Church here. Music, candy, popcorn, games, prizes. Okay, so they're going to have an event. That's fine, but it's not the same as ringing the doorbell and going trick or treat. You're going around from little car to car to car to car, and I'm not going to tell the kids this, but it's really nothing much. It's nothing fancy. But hey, if the kids like it, I'm just glad that I didn't have to do that, because it just really sounds pretty hokey, pretty corny. But hey, again, if the kids don't know any different, then they're not missing anything, I guess. So that's what some churches do to be a part of this. And here's a church that has a little pumpkin sign. What their thing is, Halloween read and treat. So they have some books out, and they want you to read some books when you stop by their church. I don't know how fun that is, but some parents, I guess, will take their kids. Here's another little, I think they came up with their own design, and I don't know what this is. Maybe it's a little corpse, a little skeleton. Maybe that's kind of disturbing. You know, you see a little skeleton, you figure that's must be a little kid that died. Again, none of these images are really healthy to see, except this is a straw man. That's not too bad, not too damaging. Here is a more traditional Halloween porch where you have your pumpkin, and they got a little creative and they brought in a face. That is not a carved pumpkin. That's a store-bought pumpkin that was carved as a jack-o'-lantern, and it's probably plastic. So that was not done by a person. It's too good to be a personal pumpkin, but they bought it at Walmart probably, or some store like that. But again, it's not disturbing, so you know that's the kind you might see 30, 40 years ago. There have been improvements over 30, 40 years ago. There were in the big cities what was called Devil's Night, the night before Halloween, and I think that's pretty much been shut down by most of the big cities, which is a good, encouraging thing, because that got out of hand. There were buildings burned down, cars set on fire. It was just a time of vandalism, and it began to take the name Devil's Night. And well, what do you expect? You're celebrating a death holiday. You're celebrating a occult-laced holiday. You're celebrating demons and devils and witches and warlocks and skeletons and graves and ghosts and all kinds of things. What do you expect? If you're going to bring in that as a big holiday, then you're going to get Devil's Night. So, but the good thing about that is that has been curtailed quite a bit. Now, this is a more traditional Halloween front porch, which is good to see. Good to see. Another more traditional. See, you can have fun. You can. They obviously carved their own pumpkins. That's a home carved pumpkin. Another one over here. Very good. They're playing up the harvest theme. And so nothing wrong with that. That's good. And again, welcome sign, the straw man, and you've got your traditional pumpkins for Halloween. And this is pretty much really all that needs to be done. You really need to show self-restraint when you go into these holidays like Halloween, because they really need to be downplayed. They really don't need to be emphasized, because they're really not they're not healthy themes at holidays for these like Halloween. And so it would be nice if people would show self-restraint. Here is one of the more gruesome ones. Again, you've got really scary images. And again, these kids see these and they make a huge impression on kids. And kids are scared. They're just, wow, you see these skulls and dead people and the theme of death, you know. And you see these spider webs and cobwebs, and it's almost like they're trying to bring the horror houses, the fright houses, into mainstream. Now, again, look at this guy. I mean, this is not something that's a wholesome image. This is a very scary image, and you're feeding kids these disturbing images, and then you wonder why they have psychological problems. Even this is even worse. You've got this is a character from a horror movie, a slasher movie, Jason. Can't remember if it's Friday the 13th. I think it is Friday the 13th or Halloween or one of those movies. And this is a hockey goal where this guy is a slasher and he kills people. And this house has it along with the jack-o'-lanterns and even the American flag. So they're really taking all these symbols and meshing them together, and it's really confusing for kids. And so this is just in my neighborhood, and I just thought I'd take a stroll down the lane here to see what some of these homes are like. And you know, it is very disturbing to see what people are doing these days. And you know, you kind of want to see things go back to the way they used to be, where things were simple. You know, if Halloween comes around, there's not a whole lot done with it except you get out the candy and you have a jack-o'-lantern, you carve a jack-o'-lantern, and you simply have a little fun. Maybe the kids dress up in some costume. That could be harmless, you know, dress up like a cat for a girl, or some guy dresses up, a little boy dressed up like a pirate, or there's cowboy and Indian, or it's just something silly for the kids. But today, it's a very, very serious thing where you have people now putting huge exhibits in their front yard, and they're trying to really scare people. It's almost as if these House of Horrors, they're trying to compete with the big fright houses. And this is not good. This is not good for society. It's not good for kids. It's not good for the mental health of adults, actually. I mean, adults, they like to say, well, we're mature, we can do that, we can handle this stuff. Yeah, but really? Can you really handle these things? You know, the Bible teaches us to not participate in the deeds of darkness. And we need to ask ourselves, you know, why do we want to participate in this stuff? Isn't it better to follow the good, clean, wholesome way and not even mess around with this stuff, and to return more to the old ways that seem simpler, and they are simpler, but they're a lot more healthier. Well, I just thought I'd make some comments. We'll see you back here next week on another edition of Christ in Culture. God bless.